The day I was released on bail and returned to the company, my mother-in-law, Eleanor Ashford, saw me and dropped to her knees right there on the floor. "Sincere, we were wrong about you this past year. Please, I'm begging you, save the company." Even my soon-to-be ex-wife, Victoria Ashford, the usually cold and aloof goddess, was bowing her head, offering a placating smile beside her mother. I scoffed. "When a year ago, I fixed the critical vulnerability your childhood friend, Ethan Preston, caused, saving Ling Technology from bankruptcy. And because of one slanderous word from him, you twisted the truth and had me prosecuted. In the end, he became the hero who fixed the problem, and I became the villain who caused the damage. So now you want me to clean up his mess again, only to prosecute me afterward?" With that, I slapped a divorce agreement down on the table. "Sign it." 1. Sincere Clark. I've already apologized. What more do you want? Wounded Victoria Ashford stared at the divorce papers on her desk, the smile slowly fading from her face. "And sign it." I repeated the words, my voice flat. Victoria's expression froze completely. Even now, she refused to believe that last year's incident wasn't my fault. A year ago, I was hauled into the company's security office and waited all night before Victoria finally arrived. "Sincere, what on earth are you doing?" If Ethan Preston hadn't found it in time, hadn't destroyed the surveillance footage and logs for you, you'd be in jail. Do you realize that? Every word Victoria said was familiar, but put together I couldn't understand them. "Victoria, what do you mean? What's this about destroying footage and logs for me? Sincere, are you still going to be stubborn? I have proof you sold the company's source code to competitors, and then you dared to try and destroy the company outright." "Oh, and you know you could go to prison for this?" Victoria yelled, furious. I tried again with the explanation I'd given countless times. Sinai was called back late at night by Walter Miller, the janitor. "Just call him, and you'll understand. And I've told you repeatedly, I came back because the server crashed. I fixed the vulnerability. Before I got there, only one person was in the main control room, Ethan Preston, and Walter's been on leave for ages. Just like Ethan predicted, you're trying to blame someone unreachable to buy time." "And you're trying to pin this on Ethan?" "If he hadn't destroyed the evidence for you, you'd be facing at least 15 years. And Sincere, you've disappointed me immensely. I don't even remember how I left the company that day. All I knew was that I stumbled through it in a daze. The next morning, a company-wide announcement went out, and network security head Sincere Clark's gross negligence led to a server attack and source code leak. This caused the company's market value to plummet. All employee year-end bonuses were canceled, and performance pay was halved. Instantly, I became public enemy number 1. I called and messaged Victoria relentlessly, but got no reply. She finally came home late that night, reeking of alcohol, and I clearly saw a distinct kiss mark on her neck. "Victoria, I need to talk to you," I said directly when she returned. She shot me a cold glance, said nothing, went straight into the bedroom, and even locked the door. I sat numbly on the sofa all night. The next morning, I opened my phone to see the top trending news. Aunt Ashford heiress Victoria Ashford and returned genius network security. Expert Ethan Preston joined forces to reach new heights in information security. The accompanying photo showed them toasting guests in a banquet hall. Victoria, in a deep V-neck gown, was held tightly around her slim waist by Ethan. They were close, eyes locked, gazing affectionately. Seeing it felt like being struck by lightning. Just then, Victoria emerged from the bedroom, exquisitely made up and dressed impeccably, clearly heading out for an engagement. 2. "What is this all about?" Who knew that the moment the words left my mouth, Victoria's face would turn completely cold. "Sincere, what right do you have to question me? If you hadn't caused the company's stock to crash, would I have needed to resort to this?" Fortunately, Ethan had a solution, came up with his plan. Victoria's words made my chest tighten. "And told you I didn't sell out the company, and I didn't sabotage anything. and the day before yesterday was our wedding anniversary. I waited for you at the restaurant all night. Just check the surveillance footage." Hearing this, however, only enraged Victoria further. She strode forward and slapped me hard across the face. "Sincere, I don't know where you got some fake surveillance proof. But let me tell you, if they investigate and find the real evidence, you'll do at least 15 years in prison." How much effort did it take Ethan to make this look like an accident? What more do you have to argue? My face burned like fire. "Victoria, how many times do I have to say it? I didn't do this. So if you didn't do it, why were you in the main control room? I really misjudged you. I can't believe, knowing the evidence was destroyed, you just shamelessly deny everything. When someone like you doesn't deserve to be my husband. Let's get divorced." A divorce agreement and a termination notice. My hands trembled holding the two documents, 1,000 thoughts racing through my mind. This company, Victoria and I built it from scratch, bit by bit. And now, because of her childhood friend's lies, without even considering my explanation, she was kicking me out. For the evidence. So over the next few days, I lurked around the company, looking for a chance. Finally, I found an opportunity to slip into the company's security office. Just as I expected, surveillance footage, operation logs, everything was wiped clean. And Ethan's work was neat. All these actions were completed during the server downtime. It could easily be explained away as server damage. This kind of operation clearly required premeditation and preparation. But Victoria couldn't see it at all. Finally, I found something. On the day of the incident, Ethan had dismissed all security personnel, claiming it was a holiday. After closing time, only he and Victoria were in the building. I copied this record onto a USB drive I carried with me, planning to use it as supporting evidence. However, just as I put the drive away, the security office door swung open. "Sincere, I didn't think you'd still be so audacious, daring to come back and steal company data." Ethan Preston walked in with a group of security guards, a sneer on his face. With a slight wave of his hand, the guards rushed in, kicking me hard to the ground. After a flurry of punches and kicks, I was handcuffed. "All right, you can leave now." Seeing I'd had enough, Ethan clapped his hands lightly and sent the guards out. He walked up to me, grabbed my hair, pulling my head up. I could clearly see the mockery in his narrow, shadowed eyes. Sincere, what am I going to do with you? So if you hadn't rushed back to the company, I wouldn't have thought of such a perfect solution." 3. Ethan laughed with sheer delight. "Not only do I have you to take the fall, but the company's assets are safe, and I get to take your wife. And Sincere, oh Sincere, you're practically my lucky star." Ethan's voice grated on my ears. "While I pocket the money from selling the source code, I'm climbing into your wife's bed. Torn doo-doo. Know how passionate Victoria was in my bed yesterday, since she even offered to transfer all your shares to me. Rage completely consumed me. I struggled desperately, wanting to tear Ethan limb from limb. Ethan, I'll expose everything you've done. Keteha, Sincere, you're so naive. I've destroyed all the evidence. Victoria signed your termination papers herself. Who do you think she'll believe, me or you?" Seeing me struggle, Ethan stood up and stomped his leather shoe hard onto my face. "But the only pity is that Victoria, out of some lingering affection, refuses to send you to prison. Otherwise, it would have been perfect." With that, he ground his heel into my face. I barely remember how much torture I endured that day, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. Victoria had never trusted me. She couldn't even be bothered to listen to or think about my words. She never considered the numerous suspicious points in this whole affair. Perhaps she simply never loved me. In the following days, I moved out of the house, gathered materials, and prepared to file a lawsuit. However, on Valentine's Day, Ethan blatantly posted on his social media, "Valentine's Day is for spending with the one you love," although the photo didn't show both their faces, but the shadows, the clasped hands. How could I not recognize my own wife, Victoria? In the photo, they struck various intimate poses, and seeing this pierced my heart completely. Married to Victoria for years, she was never willing to go out with me for holidays, Valentine's Day, anniversaries. No matter how I begged, she always had the same line, "Don't bring up such pointless, meaningless things again." Moreover, Victoria never wanted to take pictures with me. Even a simple snapshot would irritate her immensely, let alone striking sweet poses. In front of me, she was always aloof, high and mighty. Leaning on someone's shoulder like a demure bird in the picture, I'd only dared to imagine that in anxious dreams. I thought it was just her personality, so I indulged her, spoiled her. Thinking back now, she simply didn't love me. At that point, my heart died completely. I began to fight for my reputation. I had to overturn the verdict, but I knew my evidence was insufficient. The key witness, Walter Miller, was still unreachable. I sent Walter a few last text messages, then, clutching the USB drive and documents, headed to the courthouse. But when I arrived, I was told that because Victoria and I were married, the court feared further complications and recommended civil mediation first. Leaving the courthouse, I was about to call Victoria when my phone rang. It was her. Sincere, the housekeeper said, "You haven't been home for days. Where did you run off to?" For some reason, Victoria's tone was uncharacteristically gentle. Hearing this, my feelings were a tangled mess. After a long pause, I finally spoke. "Ms. Ashford, we're already divorced. Where I go is none of your concern." As the words fell, I heard Victoria's breath catch on the other end, her voice tinged with a strange panic. What nonsense are you talking about? Come home right now. I'll take you traveling later, okay? I frowned slightly. Victoria was always like this, never considering my feelings. If I got truly angry, she'd offer to take me traveling as a grand gesture. She knew I loved experiencing life in different places, but what she didn't know was that what I loved was exploring every corner of the world with her. She would never understand. And Ms. Ashford, please don't say things like that anymore. Please file the divorce papers with the court as soon as possible. I couldn't understand why, after everything that had happened, Victoria was still clinging on. Was I just a pet to her? Petted when she felt like it, kicked away when she didn't? Hearing my words, Victoria fell silent for a long moment, then slowly asked, "Are you really serious about the divorce?" "Serious? And sincere, what are you playing at? You were the one who made the mistake. Ethan and I worked so hard to bail you out. How can you sit there so calmly playing the victim? But fine, you want a divorce? Come to the company tomorrow and I'll agree." After hesitating all night, I went to the company the next morning anyway. What I didn't expect was a press conference in full swing. The moment I arrived, reporters swarmed me. "Mr. Clark, Lang Technology practically started with your code alone. You're a well-known expert in the industry. Why would you make such a basic mistake? Mr. Clark, there are rumors online that you secretly colluded with competitors, selling company source code. What's your response?" The reporters shoved their microphones and cameras in my face. I looked around and saw that almost all my colleagues were there, their eyes blazing with anger. Someone started shouting, "That's the bastard, he sold out the company. Cost us all our bonuses, got our salaries cut in half. And scum, you still have the nerve to show your face here." Listening to the rising tide of insults, bitterness welled up inside me. I was the one who helped them earn money, bit by bit, improving their benefits. I fought alongside them for years, all worthless compared to a few twisted words from Ethan Preston. But right now, all I wanted was to get divorced quickly. At that moment, Victoria finally emerged with Ethan Preston. She acted as if she hadn't seen me, walking straight to the stage with Ethan on her arm. Her demure, dependent manner drew the gaze of every man present. Reporters handed Victoria a microphone, but she passed it to Ethan. "And let me handle this today." Originally, the company, out of respect for old times, hoped Mr. Clark could retain some skills for future employment. But Mr. Clark kept pushing, so we have no choice but to reveal the truth. And truth is, Mr., Clark abused his authority, sold the company's source code to a competitor, and after being discovered, sabotaged the company's servers to destroy evidence and cover his crime. If I hadn't arrived in time, the company would have faced complete bankruptcy. As Ethan finished speaking, the colleagues couldn't hold back anymore. Lock the bastard up. Scum, if it weren't for the law, we'd kill you today. My colleagues surged towards me. Just as they were about to engulf me, an old voice echoed through the hall via the speakers. That's not the truth. I have evidence here. And that elderly voice clearly belonged to Walter Miller. 5. Does that sound like Walter Miller's voice? Didn't they say his family had an emergency? He went to the U.S. for treatment? What's this about the truth he just mentioned? For a moment, the conference hall fell silent. Everyone started looking around. However, before anyone could spot the speaker, Ethan on stage suddenly yelled, "Such a who's disrupting the press conference? Security, get them quick!" Ethan sounded extremely anxious. People sensed something wasn't right from his expression and words, momentarily forgetting their attacks on me. However, just as everyone was searching, Walter Miller appeared, and his entrance was rather stunning, because he was wearing silver handcuffs, escorted into the hall by 2 police officers. The moment he saw the police, Ethan's face turned deathly pale. He took 2 unconscious steps back. "No need to look, Ethan. I've already turned myself in. I advise you to do the same." Walter's voice wasn't loud, but everyone's attention was fixed on him. The reporters, sensing a major story about to break, were practically buzzing with excitement. "Walter Miller, what nonsense are you spouting? Wrong place to play crazy." Ethan forced himself to remain calm. Now Victoria also realized something was wrong. She released Ethan's arm and frowned. "Walter, what do you mean by this? Even if someone should confess, shouldn't it be sincere?" Victoria pointed a slender finger towards me in the crowd. Walter looked at Victoria's expression, sighed deeply, and then bowed. Then, under everyone's gaze, he walked towards me. Victoria breathed a sigh of relief and took Ethan's arm again. "Walter's getting old. His eyes must be failing him. He recognized me but not you," she said soothingly, feeling Ethan's arm tense up. Ethan subtly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. "Yes, yes." Everyone heard what Victoria just said, and combined with Walter's actions, quickly jumped to conclusions. "So, old man, are you Sincere's accomplice?" And said they couldn't find evidence to convict Sincere before. "Do you have it?" Reporters quickly surrounded Walter. If it weren't for the 2 officers behind him, they probably would have shoved microphones into Walter's mouth. The colleagues around me started cursing again. "Sat scum Sincere. Walter's been honest his whole life, and he's being used. Ain't officers, please find the truth and clear Walter. Name Sincere did all the bad things himself." However, to everyone's astonishment, Walter Miller, his eyes red, came right up to me. In front of everyone present, he knelt down abruptly, hitting his head repeatedly on the floor. "I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, my granddaughter was critically ill. That's why I agreed to take Ethan's money and run. Because I disappeared, you were framed. I've wronged you." 6. Instantly, the conference hall went utterly quiet. I didn't know what I felt: resentment, fury, or perhaps relief. Finally, a colleague reacted, asking tentatively, "Walter, did you just say, the guilty one is Ethan Preston, not Sincere Clark?" Walter slowly straightened up, blood trickling from his forehead. "Yes. Ethan did all of it. In fact, I was the one who noticed something was wrong and called Mr. Clark. But that's why Mr. Clark gave up his anniversary date and came back to the company to fix the vulnerability. And that's what saved the company. And later, Ethan found out my granddaughter was critically ill and gave me a large sum of money to leave the country, and son, I've handed all the evidence over to the police." Instantly, everyone in the hall turned their eyes to Ethan Preston on the stage. Ethan opened his mouth as if to argue. However, the next second, he shoved Victoria hard to the ground and started running for his life. But how could he possibly escape from a hall packed with so many people? Soon, several enraged colleagues caught him. When they brought him back, his clothes were torn, and his face was bruised. "In officers, don't look at us. He fell down himself just now." Colleagues who didn't chase him stomped their feet in frustration. The police quickly restrained Ethan. Yet, even handcuffed, Ethan kept insisting. "You've got the wrong person. The one you should arrest is Sincere Clark. Funny did everything. Since you have no evidence to arrest me, let me go or I'll sue you. Sue you. You know who I am? I'm the boyfriend of the Ashford family's heiress, believe it or not. I'll make you regret this." Ethan's hysterical shouting made everything clear. Any intelligent person could see it was just a desperate bluff. Finally, the crowd parted, and a police officer walked in. "Ethan Preston, I'm Captain Davis from the City Criminal Investigation Department. Your crimes are confirmed. The evidence is solid. Come with us. Arson, are you Victoria Ashford, and you Sincere Clark. Please come with us to assist the investigation." By the time I finished giving my statement, it was already dusk. Victoria had been waiting at the entrance for a long time. Seeing me come out, she quickly stood up, looking like she wanted to say something but hesitated before she could speak. Someone rushed in. "Ms. Ashford, Mr. Clark, bad news. The competitor has decrypted the source code and is launching a full-scale attack on our servers." The person was Victoria's assistant, Chloe. Her anxious expression and rapid words indicated the urgency. Hearing this, Victoria's face instantly drained of color. "Quick, back to the company." As she spoke, she grabbed my wrist. I stood rooted to the spot, frowning. "Sincere, what are you doing? Didn't you hear?" "The servers are under attack," Victoria demanded when she couldn't pull me along. I used my other hand to remove hers from my wrist. "Ms. Ashford, have you forgotten? I'm no longer the company's head of network security. Son, you signed the termination papers yourself." 7, my words landed, and Victoria froze completely. I paid her no further attention and strode towards the exit. However, before I took 2 steps, my arm was grabbed again. "Didn't you want the divorce agreement? Come back to the company with me now." Without waiting for my consent, she started pulling me towards the door. Although reluctant, considering the goal of getting divorced quickly, I followed. Victoria's hand gripped mine tightly, my wrist starting to ache slightly. Looking down, her slender knuckles were white from the force. Even her body was trembling nonstop. All the way, Victoria drove while constantly trying to persuade me to help the company through the crisis. But I turned a deaf ear, sitting silently in the passenger seat, watching the buildings outside blur past. "Looks like it's time to leave this city," I decided inwardly. This city was filled with traces of Victoria's presence. Once I thought those traces were proof of love, but now they just felt nauseating. We quickly arrived back at the company. No matter what Victoria said, I had only 4 words: on the divorce agreement. Victoria tried coaxing, pleading, but I remained unmoved. Finally, her temper flared. "So Sincere, you knew all along it was Ethan. Why didn't you say anything? Such why did you have to let Walter come and make a scene today? And maybe the competitor dared to attack today precisely because they saw this huge upheaval." I frowned. "And he didn't tell you?" Just those 4 simple words silenced Victoria completely. "During this whole time I told you again and again it wasn't me." "And then what was your response?" "Bun and Ethan helped me delete the evidence, otherwise I'd go to jail." Ridiculous. "Did you even use your brain?" "The surveillance and logs were deleted while the server was down. That was obviously premeditated. Pinpintant, you believed his flimsy story without question, while you wouldn't listen to any explanation I gave."
"Blame me for not telling you?"
"Victoria, don't you find that laughable?" Finally, I spoke, but clearly not the words Victoria wanted to hear. Her eyes reddened, but she stubbornly retorted. "But couldn't you find some evidence to convince me?" "Want evidence?" "Ethan destroyed it all, and it's not like I didn't try. When the day of the incident was our anniversary, I booked a hotel early and waited for you. I told you the surveillance footage had records." And what did you say? You said I was faking evidence. Only later did I find out that that night you were actually involved with Ethan alone in the company. My anger finally boiled over. I slammed my hand on the desk, furious. Go right now, immediately sign the divorce agreement and give it to me. Victoria had probably never seen me like this before. She seemed stunned, frightened. Sincere, don't be like this. I'm a little scared. I didn't want to speak anymore. I used to give Victoria everything, unconditionally. No matter how cold she was, I never defied her or made her do things she disliked. Even when exhausted myself, I'd appear instantly if she needed me. For her, I updated the company's products relentlessly, worked year-round without rest. Eyes open meant work, eyes closed meant thoughts full of her. But she never once considered me. Instead, the first time I lost my temper, I saw this vulnerable side of her. Hurry up, I don't want to talk to you anymore. 8. Victoria bit her lip tightly, her body trembling uncontrollably. But I no longer cared. I watched her calmly, waiting for her to produce the divorce agreement. However, just as she finally opened the drawer, her assistant burst in again. Ms. Ashford, aren't you two finished yet? The security team can't hold on much longer. Hearing this, Victoria looked at me pleadingly. I really didn't want to waste any more words and turned, leaving the office. If you don't want to sign today, we'll see each other in court. I can wait. Slamming the office door shut, I entered the main work area, only to find it packed 3 layers deep. Besides the security department staff, almost every employee in the company had gathered there. Their faces showed worry, desperation, pleading. Mr. Clark, we heard the security department can't hold out. And Mr. Clark, please, I'm begging you. Help us, I have elderly parents and children to support. I have a mortgage, car payments, I can't lose my job. Just then, Victoria, leaning on her assistant, stumbled out of the office door. And Sincere, please, I'm begging you. This company really can't survive without you. Please save the company. Victoria's eyes were brimming with tears, her body slumped against the assistant. I looked at the crowd before me, took a deep breath, and let it out slowly. Everyone's nerves seemed tied to my actions. Finally, I suddenly laughed. Seeing my smile, they suddenly grew excited. See, I knew Mr. Clark wouldn't abandon us, Senti said before. Mr. Clark couldn't possibly do something like that, but you wouldn't believe it. However, the next second, I spoke. Do you network security problems? Why are you asking me, the former head of network security? Once then go find your security expert, Ethan Preston. After all, the last time the company faced a crisis, it was Ethan, the security head, who suddenly developed extraordinary talent. Despite knowing nothing about network information security, he learned all the top techniques in just 10 minutes and fixed a major crisis that could have bankrupted the company, all while learning on the job. So I'd better stay out of it. After all, if I dare enter the main control room now, I might end up in jail, especially since the surveillance and recording equipment are all turned on today. I gave a bright smile and started pushing through the crowd to leave. At that moment, the network security team couldn't hold back either. My former apprentice, Leo, rushed out. Sincere, please help us, we really can't hold on. I looked at Leo. I was the one who taught him network security step by step, training him into a skilled professional in just over a year, raising his salary from a mere few thousand to a potential $600,000 or $700,000 USD a year. But just this morning, among the crowd hurling insults, I saw his face. I also heard what he yelled, "And this year's bonus is all gone, and salary cut in half." I sneered. "Oh, don't call me that. I'm afraid if I go into the control room again, all your salaries and bonuses will disappear. Better ask security head Ethan Preston to come back. That way, you can at least keep a quarter of your previous salary." With that, I tried forcefully to push through the crowd and leave. But clearly these people weren't going to let their only lifeline slip away. 9. Sure enough, Several attempts to push through failed. Whichever way I turned, someone would subtly block me, nudging me back. So, I simply sat down on the floor and gave up trying. Well, if you all want to watch, then watch. No one dared to speak again. If they completely enraged me, the company would truly be finished. Finally, Victoria couldn't stand it anymore. Sincere, didn't you just want a divorce? And she turned and rushed into the office, pulling out the divorce agreement. Help the company through this crisis and I'll sign this agreement. Victoria's face was streaked with tears, seemingly feeling utterly humiliated. Victoria, you feel humiliated, don't you? Fine, lift your head and look carefully at their expressions. See that? Is it shock? It's a shock that Miss Ashford was actually married to me, Sincere Clark. And married for 3 years, you never let me announce it. Your family looked down on me too. Every time I went home, your mother, Eleanor, would roll her eyes at me. Since I worked like a dog for your Ashford family for years, but never got a shred of respect. And now you feel wronged? Well, good for you. But I suggest you still go find your security head, Ethan Preston. After all, I can sense you found the taste of love with him. I continued sarcastically, feeling an unfamiliar sense of satisfaction. Finally, Victoria's tears broke free completely, uncontrollable. She signed the agreement haphazardly and pressed her fingerprint onto it. Then she threw the agreement in front of me. Sincere, isn't this what you wanted? Well, now you have your wish. But this company is your brainchild too. Are you really going to stand by and watch it die? But besides, without this company, what are you, Sincere Clark, really worth? I picked up the divorce agreement from the floor without saying anything more. But people in the crowd had already started to leave. A few with a conscience silently cleared a path for me. Into Miss Ashford, what you just said was really hurtful. Those of us old-timers came here because of Mr. Clark. Hey, Mr. D. Clark gave up a national-level project invitation just to stay by your side and protect you. I stood up, looked at the faces of those I'd fought alongside for 3 years, and nodded. I walked straight towards the edge of the crowd. This time no one blocked me. Thank you, I murmured as I passed them. Finally, I stopped at the edge. So Victoria, I once loved you to my very core, loved you down to the dust. Whatever you wanted, I would agree to. I would compromise myself. But do you know, on our anniversary, I waited for you all night, unable to reach you. Sike came back to the company to save it from disaster, only to see a disheveled man sabotaging it. When I went to stop him, I clearly smelled a familiar scent. It was your favorite perfume. But I still suppressed my suspicions and focused on protecting the company. And then, just as I finished, you appeared, slapped me without a word, and had me locked up. From now on, you and I are strangers. We go our separate ways. I need to find Sincere Clark again. Find myself.